forward. You cannot look back. Everything you see is an illusion. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Help when you can. Give when you can. Smile when you can. Cry when you can. Darkness is temporary. A bad mood can't win the light.
Kasiko pesa mokongote muningana ngaye
Good evening, friends. Thank you so much for joining us once again this evening. I'm quite excited. We actually are excited to be having you joining us this evening. We will be continuing on our topic from last week, but firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for your support as we continue to build this forum of encouraging the church in moving in a different way. We believe that this will be of great help to us as the community of Christ. And really the purpose of Drizzles of Joy is mainly to make sure that we encourage one another, especially in the aspects of the work of God church-wise and as the saints. And really we looking at engaging with all of us in these areas. And my name is Winnie Mohotsi. I am looking forward to be hosting you today. And today really we will be continuing, as I said, from the topic that we started last week around the conversation of us with talking about being part of a pastor's family, the challenges that, some of the pastors' wives go through, the challenges that the kids go through. And we believe that, we're going to be able to be engaging with you. Make sure that you engage with us and you become part of our session today. I'm looking forward for us to be having this session together. At the moment, I'm going to introduce someone that is very special to me, Mam Pindi. She's joined me now Mom, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can
Yes,
you
thank
hear
you
me?
so much for joining me this evening. I'm quite excited to be having you. I'm just going to give you a minute or two just to introduce yourself. But as you know, for the viewers at home, for me, Mampindi is a mother to me because when I started becoming a pastor's wife, we served under Mampindi and Umfundi Sumaseko. And, you know, truly for me, I was really blessed to be part of their family because really they embraced us as their children and they really walked the way with us. Even when we started the ministry, they were there to support us. And I'm just going to hand over to Mampindi just to introduce herself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Pindile Masego, Mamuruti. Yeah, what else can I say? Mamfundisi bandleni nomfundisi Masego Living Moses Assembly in the International Assemblies of God. Married to Babu Masego, have 2 sons, 2 daughters by the grace of God, and 2 grandsons. Yeah, they say I'm a pensioner, and I don't know about that, but yes. Yeah, that's who I am.
Thank you, Mampindi. And I'm quite excited to be having you. As I've said earlier, for me, you are a parent to me because I've learned a lot under your leadership. And truly, I believe that God has used you quite great in the ministry that He has called you in. And you know, there are certain things, you know, that I pick up always when I connect with you, and you know, they have really groomed me to be really who I am today. But maybe Mampindi, starting with, maybe let's start talking about, you know, last week when we were having a session, there's something that you said, which I thought that it would be maybe something that we can start with. You know, you said that being a pastor's wife, it means that before we became pastors' wives, we were first children of God. And that was quite a very profound and interesting thing that you said. And for me, I think maybe if we can elaborate on that, because I always find that it becomes challenging because people tend not to understand that you started being like a sister in a church, and you know, now you've got this task in your hand that you need to be able to get through with.
Okay. I believe Uguti, I am Upindile Masego, I am me before I am Mamfundis. I believe Uguti, when I was born, Unkulunkulu had a purpose for Upindile Masego. And Upindile Masego is who I am. Mamuruti is what I am. You know, I like if you read the books of Paul doesn't say Apostle Paul. He says Paul the apostle. Yeah. So there is a person and then there's an office. So for me, you know, sometimes into umamfundisi, and you know, as soon as you look at that word mamfundisi, people have a perception of something else or somebody else. And my view is that what is important is that kunophindile maseko, and uphindile maseko has purpose uNkulunkulu ambekele yona. Then uNkulunkulu wasemnikeza i-office where she is going to minister. I mean, she's going to serve. But primarily uphindile une-purpose engeyakhe before kufika le part of being a helper, before kufika le part of being a supporter and helper yomfundisi. Okokuqala nje uphindile is a being, child of God, born again, as a person.
That's very interesting because one thing that I've actually picked up is that hypothetically, as pastors' wives, we tend to be like it for other people, we tend to look as if we are shadows of our husbands. And for me, it becomes a challenge because you struggle to become yourself, and because people are expecting you to be like umfundisi or to be, you know, to be that which your husband is. And I like that because I think maybe if we go deeper into understanding the issue of saying that I am Winnie Mokgotsi, then then I become the wife to Tabo, Mokhodzi, Reverend Mokhodzi. I think, maybe I was lucky as a young person, because when we started serving in your church, you allowed me to be a sister. And I think that was one thing that I really enjoyed, and it helped me to be able to understand the call of God in my life. And really, I don't know how do we literally explain to the church to say that, look at me as Winnie Mokhodzi, look at me as Pindile Maseko, rather than looking at me just as Umamfundisi Maseko.
Yes, I believe ukuthi uNkulunkulu has deposited something for each and every one of us. I believe that when I was born, uNkulunkulu deposited something for the purpose yami. And uNkulunkulu ngobe nguNkulunkulu, uNkulunkulu knew ukuthi at some point my husband would be a pastor. And remember ukuthi mina ngitshadana noBaba Maseko, he wasn't a pastor. It was down the line when umachadana noBaba Maseko, he was just umzalwane othanda inkosi, young person. And Nini, he was a union activist. Nini, he was in politics. And right about 10 happened when he responded to the call of God. So I find myself there in that position. But in the meantime, I got born again when I was 16. So, and I have served and I have ministered like I've worked as a young person, as a girl, and I have worked as a mama. In the IAG, very soon, Keta, I was a president of Mama in food. So, and I have always worked. I have always believed it's something that I must do. I've always believed if you get the church must be clean, I must be there. And I've always believed that wherever if I left my home nice and tidy and clean and sparkling clean, so is the place where I'm going to worship. So I've always been there. And so now, I normally say to them, please take me as your sister. Because if people take you as Mamfundisi, in some ivory tower, they don't pray for you. They don't think you need prayer. They think you are this person holy than anything else. They think you are this person who's not touchable. They think Mfundisi who is always praising and hallelujah in their house. They think you don't have problems. But if you sit with them and make them understand, I get challenges just as you. Challenges. If you have challenges with your husband, with the kids, I come across the same challenges. And I'm a person, I'm me. That's why people don't understand when I say Pindile Maseko without saying Mamruti, because I want people to take me for who I am, not for what I am.
And it's quite interesting, Mama, because I personally think that especially even in our environment as pastor's wife, we tend to call each other Abu Mamfundisi, and which becomes a challenge to me, because for me, I should be able to call the other Mamfundisi by name and be able to relate in a more friendlier way than being Umamfundisi, being myself. And I think because we are peers, it makes it easier, because then it gives me a platform to be able to can discuss any challenges that I have. Because the minute you label me as Umamfundisi Mokhodzi, then there becomes barriers whereby I need to be careful what I say. I need to be careful how I say it. And I can't relate in a friendly manner whereby I can ask for help. I can ask for assistance.
Yes, it's characteristic. That's the thing. And do you know how I feel when Winnie says to me, Mama? It feels different. It feels so personal. Whereas when Maseko, it feels you are talking to somebody sitting somewhere here, next to Muruti, kind of Liplomo next to Muruti. But when you say Matu, if you it gets there, And when like Umam Villagas used to say to me, Pindi, it used to feel so good. And there are a number of which I say to them, Sisi, call them by name, not because or I don't recognize their position, but it feels good for me. It feels you're talking to me and not to my position. And I really wish we could get to that point where we take each other like that, I don't know.
I agree, because I think we need to shift a little bit, because I think for the fact that, we remain in that old mind, we can't be able to discuss such issues. And as I said earlier, I my heart is for the pastor's kids. And that's why, I started by talking to this issue that we have around pastors' kids. And Mampindi, really, I understand that when you started the work of God, you are like me. We started from scratch, whereby you have to give everything into the church, your heart, your money, and everything into the church. And what was that like? Because I think that is the biggest challenge, especially for people like us who start the work from scratch, where your congregants don't understand the levels of stress, the levels of challenges that you go through, because you have to share whatever that you have for your family with everyone within the church.
No, that was hard. It was really hard. I can just give you a few examples. Say we are planning for a planning meeting. We are planning a planning meeting, like it's going to go on a Saturday. I'd be sitting on Friday night preparing documents. I would be preparing the lunch that we're going to have, the breakfast we're going to have. I would have to cook everything here, take everything, because the church was still small and people coming from wherever and Bangaga could. It was really hard. And your children, they actually they're sacrificed, because you tend to focus on the church more than you do on your kids. And that happened is that then immediately abantwana now bathola pressure from the congregants. There's somebody who said something, I think it was either when you were talking to Lebu or when you were talking to Sizwe. Somebody said abantwana babafundisi, they are pastors, they are born pastors. That is so wrong. That is so wrong, because that is the attitude that makes abazalwane to want your kids not to be kids, but to be abafundisi. And it's impossible. Akukho umuntu ozala umntwana azale what child did you get? Mfundisi. Umuntu uzala a boy or a girl. You get a baby girl. So and then you find that abantwana bako, they're not allowed to be children, and abantwana bako, they're not allowed to be young people. And Nkulunkulu has purposed their own journey. They have their own journey to by hand. Of course, we pray for them. We pray for them all the time. We asking God, they must live a life. Of course, we want them saved. Of course, we want them to. But it was hard. I remember we used to keep a sound system here at home, and then we would transport it to church and bring it back. And then you'd find somebody, a trailer, and we were in an environment, most of the people there were Venda and Bekulumi song. Tamba was carrying it because going to the trailer, and this person says, Akatwale, mtana kamfundisi. And and Kulmangesi Venda thinking, because I understand. And I was like, is this what it means? And I remember my son coming to me one day and saying, can't I go and study overseas and be away from here? I said to him, my son, you'll go and you'll come back. Your father will still be a pastor. So you need to understand, sit him down and say, I'm also going through challenges, just as you, but as a level. So we need to understand that this is it. But then I woke up early to say, then if my kids are going to get pressure from church, I can't control that. I can't make people think differently of my kids, but let my kids not get the same pressure at home. Let my kids know that when they come to their parents, they are accepted for who they are. They are children. They are going to grow as children. They are going to make mistakes. They are going to make stupid things as young people, as children. Bangatholi pressure ebuya le ukuthi ya libana ba moruti tshwanetse you know, they must find that love and acceptance at home, so that if they get it there, they know it's fine, but when I get home, I'll be accepted. So uNkulunkulu wangisiza at that early age, I managed to say, okay, where I can shield my children, I will. Where I can't. But when they come home, they will be accepted.
True. Thank you so much, Mampindi. I just want to say welcome to all our viewers and thank you once again for joining us. Please engage with us. Send your comments. We want to engage with you. Any questions that you want to ask me, you want to ask Mampindi, please do so. We are here to be able to answer some of those questions. And yes, ma'am. So when you say that, actually, as I was engaging with some of the pastors' kids, one of them actually shared a story with me saying that as she was growing up and, you know, with her father being a pastor, you know, she went to school, and as she was at school, one of the kids in the class lost their parents. And the teacher went, "Oh, we've got a pastor's child in our midst, so she will pray for so and so, that because they've lost." And she said, from that day, I just hated being a pastor's child. And, you know, we don't understand, like, you know, as a church as well, because that's the kind of expectations that the church normally have around our children, to say that umntana kamfundisi, you're supposed to know how to pray. Umntana kamfundisi, you're supposed to know the word. And these kids end up not being able to be themselves. And really, I think we need to come with a system and a way of breaking that, you know, that system of the church looking at our children and saying that because you are born in a pastor's house, you're also a pastor. And I fully agree. I don't want my children to be pressurized to the issue of being pastors, whereas they are not called.
Yeah, you see, and the onus is on you as umama no baba ekhaya to be able to affirm these children kahle ekhaya, so that when they get these challenges then you know, because I can tell you now, we're not going to be able to change these things. We're not going to change the mindset. And yeah, we're not going to be able to change the mindset, but may accepted ekhaya. You know, there's one young girl who spoke in one of the sessions we had, and she was talking how she, you know, abantwana babafundisi uhlaliswa uhlala kwagogo because umfundisi uhlala yonke indawo, umfundisi uyamuva. So umntwana this one Sunday, or mhlambe ukhona kuba sesontweni on Sunday, she only is able to see her dad on Sunday. And guess what? The girls in the church are wanting to compete for the attention yakababakhe, and they forget to go to agamboni babakhe for the whole week. I mean, this is the only opportunity, but they're pressurizing her. And this girl, I never forget, she was talking inclusive. So we need to be able to be aware of these things, that, you know, abantwana bethu, they are not pastors. They are going to live their lives. And yes, they may be pastors, but not necessarily. And more than anything, we are praying that good basindiswa. Kaningi abantwana abafundisi nabantwana babazalwane abasindiswa because of the pressures that they get from the church. This is it. And that's one. Secondly, there are things that abazalwane abazenzayo to the pastors esingasimnandi.
Oh God.
And umntwana is looking at this thing, and umntwana uyalimala ukuya phambili. So we need to be able to pray for our children. We need to always to pray for our children and ask God to abasize baqhubeke. I'm not sure if you are still there.
I am here, but I think your video is stucking a bit. We'll just, yeah, I think it's coming back. Thank you. I'm just going to post in the meantime while we're waiting for your network, Mama. We've got a comment here from Blue Tumelo Masedi. He says, how do you manage to be a mother to your kids in an environment that sees you as a pastor's wife? For example, in church where your kids are in the youth and you are asked to share a certain topic as a pastor's wife. Okay. So personally, I think that at the end of the day is the environment that we create for our own children. And as Maseko has highlighted, for me, it's all about creating that environment for my children to understand that I'm a mother to them more than, you know, being a pastor or a pastor's wife, because at the end of the day, I still need to play that role as a mother in my children's life. And I've actually realized that, you know, as pastors, we are all human. As pastors' wives, we are all human. And many a times we find ourselves being entangled in a space whereby we are unable to not differentiate between being a parent and being a pastor. But once you get to that point, I think in our environment, we have come to that point for our children to be able to know that we are mom and dad, and anything that they want to ask from us as mom and dad, not as umfundisi no mamfundisi, we allow them that space to be children in a mom and dad's home. And for me, that's the answer that I can give. Mam Maseko, there's a question there from Umasedi Blue. Mama, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm listening. I can see. Yes, I'm listening.
So Umasedi Blue is asking, he says, how do you manage to be a mother to your kids in an environment that sees you as a pastor's wife, for example? Yeah. In a church where your kids are in the youth.
I can hear you.
Yes. Viewers, sorry, we're having network problems, but I believe that we'll get Maseko back. Can you hear me, Ma? Ma, can you hear me? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to continue with our conversation. And I think at the moment, what I want to talk, can you hear me? Mampindi, can you hear me now? We seem like we're having network problems. Mampindi, can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Winnie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Can you?
Okay. So another topic that I wanted maybe to talk about is the issue of grieving. And I've realized that most of the time we have challenge as the pastor's family, because I don't know if maybe the church tend to think that because you are a pastor, because you are a pastor's wife, you can deal with these things. And personally, I believe that when you are a pastor, you're still human. You go through the same emotions, you go through the same feelings as any other person. And, you know, many a times, and you know, we've even seen it happen recently, and it's something that kind of like disturbs me in a way, to think that abazalwane tend to think that when you are a pastor, when you are grieving, you need to put your grief aside and be able to deal with your grief in a different way. And the reason I say that, like as I highlighted last week, that, we had a situation whereby my husband lost his mother. And, we were hurting just like any other person. When you lose a parent, you hurt, it becomes challenging. And we realized that, during that time, we had a wedding that was happening at church. And this family comes in and, not even saying, how are you feeling? How can we assist you? But, they come in and say, no, Muruti, we are here to speak about the wedding. And for me, it was a bit of a challenge because, I had to take myself back to understand that, okay, fine. I believe that God will heal us and we will, come around this. But somewhere, somehow, I think that we need some form of support from the church as well, because we are also human and it's a challenge. But at the end of the day, we really thank the Lord, because I remember my husband went to that wedding, but I could see the pain in his heart. I couldn't actually hold myself because we lost the mother, and I just went briefly to the wedding. But those are the challenges that I would like for us to be able to engage on. We're still struggling to get Uma Maseko on, but as soon as she comes on, she will join into the conversation and we'll continue. I say, Uma Sedi Blue says, most of the time the congregation seems to think that the pastor's wife controls the church from the background, and that makes them feel like they are in the house of Mokgotsi or Maseko. How do you deal with that as a pastor's wife?
Okay, let me answer the first one first. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ma.
Okay. The first one, Blue was asking about how do you share a topic. I'm a child of God. I read the word. I share a topic in like to anyone else. So if I'm addressing the church and my kids or my children are there, I'm addressing the congregation. So I do not have a problem with that. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the one other thing that we needed to also say here is that our children must see the Christian life at home. Okay, they must not. They don't have pastors at home, but they have fellow Christians. So when I share a topic at church, I'm sharing it as to every congregant who can be there, whether my kids are there or not. I'm not sure if I'm answering Blue correctly. Yeah. I didn't get the second question.
The second question says, most of the time the congregation seems to think that the pastor's wife controls the church from the background, and that makes them feel like they are in a house of Mokgotsi or Maseko. How do you deal with that as a pastor's wife?
Yeah, I think that is where the problem is. I do not think pastors' wives control anything.
Yeah.
And you are there, you are, as I said, you have your purpose, you're pursuing your purpose, and uNkulunkulu umakanikeza purpose yakho, uNkulunkulu knew that you would be a pastor's wife in one day. uNkulunkulu doesn't do things and say, oops, I didn't realize you are going to be a pastor's wife. So uNkulunkulu gave you a purpose as that your purpose is compatible to your husband being a pastor. So you are there to pursue your purpose, and your purpose will not clash with your husband's, will not clash. You will not find yourself wanting to control the church, wanting to be the leader. There is one visionary in the church, the pastor. We all submit under Umfundisi, who's the leader of the church. There is no, Mfundisi cannot be in the background and control. Mfundisi will be there to assist and to support and to help Mfundisi wherever necessary and wherever uNkulunkulu has helped him to be. In the longest time, there has been a discussion about what is the role of Mfundisi. And for me, that was a way of boxing Umamfundisi. This is what you're supposed to do. Boxing me. You cannot box me because uNkulunkulu has purposed me. uNkulunkulu knows what I'm supposed to be doing. No, there is no one who will write a book and say, this is the role of Mamfundisi. It can't be that way. uNkulunkulu has purposed me to be me and to do what I'm supposed to do. And I'm there to support my husband. So Mamfundisi do not control the church. The church, there'll be a visionary, there'll be the church leadership, the committee, and everybody. And Mamfundisi works within that platform.
Yeah, and I truly agree, Mama, because another challenge is that when you are a hands-on Mamfundisi, people perceive that you are controlling. And, you know, when I look at some of the situations that we go through like knowing you as Umama Seko, I've always known you as a hard worker. You would be in the kitchen if you need to be. You would be wiping chairs if you need to. You will be cleaning the church if need be. And all this is for the body of Christ and to make sure that the work of Christ continues. And I've learned from you where there's a gap and I'm able and I'm capable of filling the gap. I will stand up and make sure that I fill that gap. And really, it becomes a challenge because it happens. And those are some of the challenges that we come across whereby you see abazalwane bahleli nje and they expect things to happen. And the minute you stand up, then you get, you get seen as being controlling. And for me, as you say, I don't know how one works around it to say that I'm gifted in cooking. If there's a cooking challenge in the church, I'll stand up and go assist in cooking. There's a challenge, then I'll quickly stand and make sure that I assist there, just to make sure that there's order in the house of the Lord.
Look, I learned the hard way. I have a weakness of being a perfectionist. I have a problem that if there's a spider web, we are sitting in church and there's a spider web on stage, I'm uncomfortable. So I learned the hard way. You know, one day, it was about Mama, and but it's long ago. We asked about Mama to stay on, and there was a banner in front. It was dusty. And I asked them nicely, do you see anything there? And like, no, they said, no, but the thing is dusty. And it was a big deal that I was reported that in Batiti Silengati is doing a good dust. I learned from that day, if there's anything to be done at church, I will be there to do it. And if it means I have to scrub the floors, I will go on my knees and I scrub the floors. I'm this person who will, as I walk into church, I go to the toilets, Ebo Mama, I go to Ebo Baba. We now have a clean at our church. But this was my routine. As I walk in, I go to the toilet to check if are clean, they are smelling fresh. Go to the Ebo Baba, check if it's clean, smelling fresh. If not, I take the bucket, and I'm at church early, fortunately. I take the bucket and I go and scrub. And then they come and say, but Mamfundisi wouldn't have corroborated if it was. You only do it because, as you say, there's a gap. I can't be comfortable and go to the bathroom and which is smelling odd. The bathroom must be fresh as I left my bathroom at home. So if it has to be scrubbed, I'm very glad to do it. And I don't feel anything. And to understand, because I learned to it, you can't ask someone to do it. I do it myself, because if you ask someone to do it, then you have problems. So to avoid I do it myself, and that is not controlling. Is to make sure that my surroundings, the church that I'm worshiping in, is as clean as the house that I left at home.
Amen. We've got another comment. Thank you for the discussion, ladies. Indeed, saints, they are human beings like us. They have feelings like any other person. Let's separate a person from a title. Their children should be regarded as such, not use pastor's title. Should feel free to make friends, express their emotions. So thank you, Malose. Thank you very much. And there was a topic that I highlighted, Mama. We'll go to the other, I think, question or response that we have from Masedi. But there was something that I highlighted about, I don't understand ukuthi abazalwane, maybe they don't know how ukustuduza Tina as pastors, or they just being naive of the fact that we go through the same pain when we are grieving like any other human being. And one thing that I've realized is that I was actually sharing a story of us when we lost umama. We had a wedding esontweni and abazalwane bayafika nje, it's been like 3 days after we singcobile umama, and then they come here and say, hey Mfundisi, we just here to hear what are the plans for the wedding on Saturday. And to me, I was like, dumbstruck, how? Not even Mfundisi, we know you lost umama, and how are you feeling? Will you be okay to continue with the wedding? Can maybe you find someone assist? It's like, we're looking at you Saturday, we expect you to be there.
It's one thing not to know how to they don't know to bangas to do zaganjan, but there's one other thing to be insensitive as well, and that is the problem. My prayer and my wish is that, number one, abazalwane basindiswe babe Christian and abazalwane grow in the Lord. Abazalwane, as the word is preached, bayizwe, as they read the word, balidle, and allow the Spirit of God to and they must grow. And I think with growth, such things will come. When a grown Christian would be sensitive and say, oh, okay, would have phoned first and say, your Mshato is coming, I know Guti in a problem. When can we come see you? A thing like this, a thing like that. And of course, you go to everyone, and it's very rare. They think go shonelwe or go gule or udinge somebody just to talk to. Of course, of course, you're not going to be their burden, but it's there. I think it's a matter of growth. I think as they're able to understand how for how do I treat this. Can I just phone and say, how do I help you? Can I just phone and just even just to pray with you? Because if a grown-up Christian spiritually would know what I must pray for the family of Mfundisi, for them, I need to go and assist them. I need to go and see them. I need to go and check them. I need to send a WhatsApp or thing just to check what they are doing. But unless they grow in the Lord and they grow in the knowledge of the word, we are going to continue to have these problems. So what we need to do, as I was on, that's what I was saying earlier. Sometimes in interest you're expecting but thing you go to Mfundisi, you want them and sometimes they will always thank him. So if you don't expect it anyway, it helps you. You don't get hurt. If they whether they about or about because you don't expect it, that thing now they must recognize me and things like that. If you don't have that problem, you override you even if they buyers to comfort you, because they will not come. Override, you don't.
Yeah.
And but you're on your own. Such things. Otherwise, if uzobambelela kulokho uzolimala and abantwana bakho bazolimala and the entire family izolimala, even your husband uzolimala, because you're looking and you're expecting that. So if you don't expect it, then you're fine. You continue to grow. You continue life. Those things, they make you grow in the Lord.
True, I agree. And Mama, I think you said it spot on, Uguti. I think abazalwane just needs to grow. And at the end of the day, it's just the matter of saying, like if they know, I mean, like I wouldn't come to your house as umzalwane and say, Mama, ngo Sunday you supposed to preach, and knowing that you uvelelwe, you've got a funeral that has come upon you, and I wouldn't do that to you as an individual. And I think we need to look at it in the same way, to say that I'm human, this other person is human, and that's it. Obviously, as you say, it's not an expectation for someone to come as a producer, but it's the thought of saying, you know what, let me just pull back a little bit.
Exactly.
There's some few comments. It says, I think there's a need to redoctrinating the church to see a pastor's wife as a fellow Christian rather than a pastor's wife, because the church creates expectations that even they wouldn't meet. And I fully agree with that. And that message, I fully agree, because until we understand that we are all Christians, it just happens that I've been given this position to be able to take care of, and I need the support from everyone to be able to make sure that we make this work easier for all of us. Thank you. And then there's another one. Thanks, Pindile. Continue, Malose Kutumela. Thank you, Mam Pindile. Continue to lead and teach and assist us both as Mamuruti ex officio and Pindile as sister and a mother. It's Malebo. Thank you, Mama Malebo. We really, really appreciate your contribution. Mama, I think we have really, really discussed quite a lot, and thank you so much for joining me. I believe that, really, by continuing to have these kind of conversations, they will help us as a church to shift the way we do things, because I think sometimes the old church has created some challenges that we tend to be carrying forward, but they're not assisting us going forward. I don't know, in your last words, if there's anything that you want to say before I wrap up.
Yeah, just maybe one of the things I've learned to do is that as Mamfundis in a church, I mustn't take abazalwane for granted. And that will help me that they don't take me for granted. That's one. Secondly, and to learn to be independent. I've learned to be you don't want to go back same saying obazalwane. You know what I'm saying? Because if then that's the time they will that's when then they will take advantage of you. But more than anything, we are praying that they may grow in the knowledge of the Lord, in the knowledge of Christ. They must grow in the word. And the more the cooler, the more is into. I'm not saying there won't be challenges, but challenges will be dealt with in that manner. Ngabantu abakhulile, abantu abazi uNkulunkulu, abantu abakhulekayo, abantu abaziyo ukuthi yes, I can ask Rapel, but I am the person who can pray best for myself. So I'm not going to run to Mfundisi. I'm not going to treat Mfundisi. I'm not going to treat Baba Fundisi this way. And understand ukuthi Baba Fundisi abanye balimele because of abazalwane. Baba Fundisi bakhonza kamanye amabandla because abazalwane bandleni, and then they are the first people to talk again. But if abazalwane bekhulu wazi noNkulunkulu, they will understand ukuthi they are hurting these children. They will understand ukuthi they are hurting Mfundisi. They are hurting Mfundisi as well. So asikhulu wazi noNkulunkulu, and sizokhona ukuthi sisebenzisane.
True. I think there's another one that is coming, and I think I would definitely want to have this discussion with you later on about us not being emuseni wabo and being able to be independent. And obviously, being we are working, we are there in siya emakweni. we go and work. But at the end of the day, those are the kind of discussions that I want to have. And we need to emphasize on these things, because we have a lot of our pastors that are not working. We realize that some of our pastors are struggling. And those are the kind of conversations that I want us to have. And really, Mampindi, I really, really appreciate you joining us this evening. It was very, very insightful. It was really, really encouraging indeed. And truly having these kind of conversation will really help us to go forward as a church. And I've got some few comments before we close. Flora Lesiane says, thanks, Sis Pindi, for the teachings. And then we've got the last comment. Thank you to Bo Mamrudi for carrying the whole church on their shoulders. Continue to please God in your offices. May God continue to see purpose in you, ladies, young and old out there. Thank you, Sadima. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks to all our viewers. We really thank you for joining us. Mampindi, thank you so much for being with us this evening. May the good Lord really do you good as we continue to share thoughts, as we continue to build the work of God. Bless you, Mama. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. I'm really, really grateful for you joining us. And as I said last week, that I am continuing to build this forum for us to be able to grow as a church. And I've written this book called To Be a Pastor's Kid. It's a book that will help us to be able to support this work that God has created in pastors, pastors' wives, and pastors' kids. It is a handy book for us to all be able to read as a church. It's not for pastors' kids, it's for the entire congregation. And I want to encourage all of us to try and get this copy, and you can be informed, and you can be able to be a supporter of this forum that we're trying to build. We thank you this evening, and I believe that you will have a blessed evening. May the good Lord really, really bless you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you once again next week with a greater and big discussion that I'll be having next week. May the good Lord bless you. Goodbye.
When you're moving forward, you cannot look back. Everything you see is an illusion. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Help when you can. Give when you can.